okay, so I can just flip the script and I am going to learn how to adapt, how to
Yep.
use my flexibility as a Latina and use it in the way that it has to be used. There's a lot of anxiety about changing your behavior and this and that, but I think that we're all adapting, we're all flexible. We have to, and it's important, and it's growth when we
Yes.
adapt and learn and change. It's beautiful without being hard on ourselves. In your own cultural awareness, who are you culturally and how you act, when you can name it, you can tame it.
What is going on, L&M family? Back again. And this time I have like a super, I don't even know how to say it, like just super engaging and courageous human being. She reached out, we connected on the LinkedIn, and she says, hey, let's talk. I got some questions. I want to meet up. I'm like, yeah, sure. And it's like in person. Oh, okay. And on the weekend. Oh, okay. Like very few people have that level of courage. And I'm so glad I did it. She's an amazing human being. So if talent development is something that you've ever had to deal with or wish you knew how to do, she is the ultra expert at maximizing talent, developing leadership and interpersonal skills. And she's worked in a multitude of industries: construction, healthcare, finance, tech, manufacturing, like all of the above. So if you're going to try and wiggle out of, well, that doesn't apply to me, you're a liar. She's got it going on. Dr. Alejandra Rodriguez Mielke is going to blow our mind with all the secret sauce that she has to fix companies and make things awesome. But before that, if this is your first time here, this is the Learnings and Missteps podcast, where you get to meet amazing human beings just like you who are sharing their gifts and talents to leave this world better than they found it. I'm Jesse, your selfish servant, and we are about to get to know Dr. Alejandra. Dr. Alejandra, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jesse. I'm super happy to be here and be able to have this conversation with you today. So thank you. Ready. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm excited. Folks, if y'all don't know this, well, y'all wouldn't know this. Not only is like Dr. Alejandra like straight up, let's go, let's connect, action oriented. I'm going to say it, you're that way times 1,000, because you and I had a conversation over coffee. We talked about a newsletter, and then bam, like a week later, you launched a newsletter. Like you just default to action. Has that always been the way you operate? Where does that come from?
Oh, yes. And some people call it impulsiveness.
Yeah.
I love doing things. It's always for me, it's always what's next, what's on the other side, what happens if I turn around this corner, what am I gonna find? What am I gonna do? So I've always been very restless. There's something about that might be a little bit of impulsiveness, yes, and a lot of curiosity. Cannot be in a place that I'm not learning and I'm finding out new things. And it's what drives me, that curiosity to go and see what's out there in the world, different industries, different organizations, different human beings. So that's what moves that action. Yeah, definitely. It's a sense of curiosity of doing and learning and finding out what's, like I said, what's around the corner. So it's been close to me. I think that's one of the reasons that I'm in this country. I moved from Monterey, Mexico, here actually 25 years ago, exactly.
Woo.
Last week, I celebrated my 25th anniversary. And
Yeah.
that was because I couldn't stay. I mean, I had to go, I had to move, I had to go and learn. So that's something that has been with me. And I think it's connected to my father, even though he might not appreciate all my moves all the time. Of course not. But of course, I think it's a lot because of him. He had that kind of personality as well.
So always learning, always eager, challenging, curious, exploring. I think it's amazing because you can't tell, I have the same energy. And I totally appreciate it. But I've been told the same, Jesse, you're too impulsive. Okay, whatever. Like until you have to pay for my impulsiveness, don't complain because I'm paying for it. You're not. Now, the curiosity, the adventure, how is that connected to organizational analysis? Because I know that's kind of your sweet spot, analyzing the way organizations function and so forth. What is the connection between that and your bias to action, your curiosity, that need to keep learning and growing?
I've been always fascinated by human beings. I majored in English literature. So for me, it was reading about stories, learning more about the human being. And of course, literature is a reflection of our thoughts and ideas and beliefs and how we advance, right? So it was always something about the human beings. And then I became an expert in learning and education, right? And how to ensure that people go from point A to point B, right? That movement, that learning. And I think that's what has been guiding me all this time. I think I would have been a fantastic anthropologist as well, because I do want to understand what makes people move, what makes people act in the ways they act, what makes people change, because that's the hard one, as we all know, right? So, what is it there? What are some contexts that make this change, this advancement more easy for some people, and what other contexts that things just do not move, and you go back and you hear the same complaints, right? And you hear the same problems, and you go back and they're like, okay, there's no movement. And I'm always been very fascinated and curious about this. What are the contexts that create this change, this advancement, right? And what are the ones that do not? And it's easy for me to go on, whether regardless of the organization, the teams, the industry. Like I said, I go there and I start observing with my big research eyes and my big anthropological eyes. What's going on here, right? What are the missing pieces that can make this better? What's not working well? And for me, and I'm sure it's going to be similar to you, it's always around the people. It's always around the people, the way that we interact with each other, the way that we relate to each other. And when we have work in the middle of those interactions, then we have to talk about demands and orders and hierarchy and bosses. So it messes the whole thing up. But we live in a world where we are in workplaces a lot of the time, like
Yes.
a chunk of our time. So we need to understand how are these content, these workplaces created, and what can we do to make them better? Because workspaces are not going to go anywhere. So they're
Right.
here to stay. So it's always interesting for me, I always go into the people. What are those dynamics that are not working? Other people might go and take a look at the workplace from a different perspective,
Yeah.
but for me, it's all about people. I think that's key.
So what I'm hearing is when you're talking about workplace, you're talking about your focus is human dynamics, like interpersonal relationships, not the structure. The structure, of course, but not like the lighting or the floor plan. You're talking about how do people interact, function within this organization, which is, I'm sure, how many times have you heard this question? Maybe it's not even a question. Well, I don't know if your stuff is going to help because we're different. You ever heard that one?
And I believe that one for a little bit. And, oh, yeah. Oh, I want to go. I'm curious. Me. Oh, you're different. Oh, I'll be there. I really want to see. And then when I started seeing, oh, this is not this. I've seen this. I've seen this. And you're like, oh, patterns begin to show up, patterns of interactions. And I'm like, oh no. I mean, of course, there's some differences, right? But there are a lot of similarities because we're all human beings and we have a lot of these. A lot is about fear, right? We are very afraid of what other people are going to think about us, fear of rejection, fear of a lot of things. And they create these patterns that are easy to see in many different ideas, very different contexts. And I think for me, one thing that I have to say as an immigrant, because I'm an immigrant in this country, right? I think when you come to a different country, even though I already spoke English, even though I had been in Austin, Texas before I moved here, I even had a few friends here. So it was not a completely foreign to me, but still when you come to another country, you have to adapt different ways. You have to keep your eyes open to, oh, people are doing things differently. So that gives me, or has given me, I think, this extra sensitivity
Mm.
to go and observe and say, hey, what's going on here? What's working? What's not working? And I think that's what gives me that extra thing of
Yeah.
what's going on here, because I have to do that all my life because I'm a foreigner in this country. I'm a foreigner. I have to learn. I have to understand. I have to adapt, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that,
Adapt to the conditions.
yeah.
So you mentioned being an anthropologist, and like I want to be clear, I'm not trying to minimize people's problems because there are uniqueness, there are things that are different, nuances, and so forth. However, in all the industries that you've worked in, construction, healthcare, finance, tech, manufacturing, all of it, the one thing that they all absolutely have in common is people. We got to do the L&M family member shout out. And this one, again, I didn't write the name down, so I'm sorry. I love you, but I didn't get your name. But here's the message. She says, I say she, I don't even know it's a she. I took Jesse's class on time management, and you hit all the high notes for me. I love lists. I'm super visual. And Jesse really knows how to bring the best out of people and the best out of the tools that are readily available. Thank you so much. And if you're wondering what that testimonial is from or about, it's on the Self First Time Mastery framework that a whole bunch of people have been through. If you want to design the life that you really, really want, I could help you. Hit the link, sign up. But more importantly, to everybody out there, you already know if you leave me a message, a testimonial, repost, do 5 stars, all of the things, please do that because one, it helps me feel good because somebody else is listening. And two, it gives me the opportunity to shout you out in a future episode. People are people all the time.
People are people. Yes, definitely.
And so you mentioned in your work or just kind of in general, you picked up on the patterns of how this might be going too far, but you picked up on patterns on dysfunctionality. What are some of the most frequent patterns that you've seen out there? Or maybe what are your favorite ones that you see? Oh, I could help there.
So I have so many, but I think one of the ones that I think is a universal one, and it's kind of the basis and the foundation for many other things. And that is this idea of fear, right? It's a fear that can has many ways of showing up, right? Fear of rejection, fear
Mhm.
of what other people are going to say, right? Especially a lot of us that we were raised in Latin cultures, we have this thing about ¿qué va a decir la gente? What are they going to say about me? Fear of being taken advantage of being a joke, or fear of being discovered. So I think that is the fear. And I think it's a fear that has many ways of showing up. And I
Yeah.
think this fear is about understanding that we are alone in this world. And I think at
Mm.
some point we understand that we are alone. And I think that feeling of being alone and unprotected, if I can say that, that we
Mhm.
have to do it on our own, is something that for some reason is very ingrained in a lot of our beliefs. I don't know what you have seen, but I think for me is that is very ingrained, and then that prevents us from being more open. Sometimes prevents us from having real and more meaningful connections, right? And it's just this, which is kind of contradictory because you are afraid, you want to protect yourself, but at the same time you're open and you don't understand that by opening and connecting you can also protect yourself,
Yes.
so that you don't have to do that on your own, but you don't want to because you don't trust. So I think for me it's always around this fear of, and it's because we feel alone, and we are alone. We come to
Yeah.
this alone and we die alone. But I think there's a misunderstanding of how
Yes.
that we can be in this world, and has to do with culture as well, the individualistic culture of the US. So all these things, but and it takes time, because even that is a skill that we have to learn, how to connect, how to release that fear. You talk a lot about vulnerability, right? How to,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to say the word I have an accent, a little bit of an accent. I might struggle with a word, but it's very easy, but it's very difficult to do it in real life.
In practice. Oh my goodness. Yes, 100%. So I had one of my counselors, one of my therapists told me, Jesse, you suffer from chronic uniqueness. I was like, what do you mean chronic uniqueness? And the point was all like I refuse to recognize that it's impossible for me to be the only human being to have had these experiences. At this time in my life, vulnerability was absolutely not an option. There's no way, which reinforced my problem, right? If I wasn't willing to open up to people and admit that, hey, I have this fear, this concern, whatever, insecurity, I would never learn that I'm not the only one that has those fears and insecurities. And so that's why she tells you, like, you're chronically unique. If you continue to think that you're the only person, you will reinforce that idea and you're going to stay stuck. And so, but to your point, vulnerability, very easy to say. In practice, it's a little bit different. Now, you help companies with this, right? Like you go in and you've got your doctorate in organizational study, like you've accomplished a ton. You've helped tons and tons of people, leaders with this. Do they, when they call you, do they say, hey, Dr. Alejandra, can you help us with vulnerability?
Does that happen to you? No, no, there is always, I mean, I wish, but I mean, I don't think I would even ask for help like that, right? I think it's hard for all human beings, but no, they all, I mean, it's very reactive instead of proactive, right? There's always we have a problem, we have a fire. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time at work putting out fires, and
Yes.
it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And it's never ending, right? Because the fires are always going to be there. But when really things get bad is when they start either losing people, or it's always related some kind of like when they or money, they are not reaching out the clients that they want to reach, or something is the dynamics there are a lot of complaints, right? But no, they don't reach out for that vulnerability. I think it's difficult. And I like, so I've been working with engineers lately, Jesse, and I love
Okay.
working with engineers. I never thought I was going to love working with engineers so much because I have nothing about engineering in my life. I'm not an engineer. I married one, but I don't have anything. But I love working with them. And my mission in life is to be able to help them understand that these skills of being open, of connecting, really influencing others or motivating others, or building good teams are skills like the skills that they use to measure windows, for example, or do whatever technical work that they have to do. That there are skills that we can learn, and there are ways to learn those skills, and then you can implement them and you can be better at those, and those are going to help you tremendously at work, outside of work, personally, right, internally. But I think what causes me a lot of frustration is that nobody teaches us these skills. Nobody does. So I remember a long time ago when I was like, oh, my friend was selected to go to leadership skills training, and it was a big deal. And I'm like, oh, cool. What is that? I mean, this is decades ago, right? And it's like, why some people are selected to go to this, right? Why only some people when there's skills that everybody needs? So it pains me when I see a lot of young engineers, young that are absolutely clueless in how to develop their teams, but not because they don't want to or they can't, it's because they don't know how. So that I want to do that. And that will require a little bit of vulnerability, right? Yeah. I don't use the word a lot, but it's needed because you have to learn new things.
Well, I thank you. And it's, not picking on engineers, but I get it. Like the folks that I know that have the engineer mindset, they place tremendous value on their technical expertise and almost have zero value for interpersonal expertise, relationship, communication, conversational. Because what are we talking about? Just tell me what we need to do, which is fine. until you have to lead people. And so, and to your point, I think you made this point. So I want to ask it a different way is people are people, they're always going to be people. But then we put them in this work environment. And for some reason, it's like the work environment is designed to help people hate each other. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's so funny. But I mean, yeah, it seems like there are certain situations of being so close to each other, that competitive aspect of the
Mhm.
workplace, right? Our cultural values. I mean, we live in Western societies where we have very specific gender roles that we have to follow, some more than others, but they exist. And all that is like you said, it puts all the ingredients in the stove, in that workplace, right, in the pot for
Yep.
the perfect soup or the perfect storm, whatever. I think that I once they told me at one point that it is only in these interpersonal relationships where we grow as people. We can learn all the technical, but the system was created. I always tell my clients, you were put in the perfect lab. Ask for it, but you were put in the perfect lab to develop what you have to develop now. They put all the ingredients you want to call God, the universe, like a Lego set, and they
Yeah.
put all the little ingredients for you to develop your new skills. What you have to develop. They did it. It's there for you. So I think that the workplace is a perfect, and families also. I think the
Oh my
workplace,
God. That's different.
you know, but it's because the system we were designed to develop through those interactions with other human beings. Because if not, there's no growth. I mean, there's no advancement. I mean, you can, of course, you can learn to code beautifully or you can learn to whatever, but the real advancement is through these personal interactions.
Yes.
That's what I found out. Yeah.
I luckily I had a boss who told me, Jess, you're pretty good technically. You're good foreman. You make money. Get jobs done on time. But our people quit on you, and our clients hate you. And I was like, yeah, you need to hire better people and get better clients. That's not my problem. He's like, well, no. If you want to reach the potential of your influence within the organization and beyond, you're going to have to start developing people. And so, which was again back to the structure of business. Like we hire people and we assign them specific tasks. And when they execute those tasks really well, we give them a raise, we give them a promotion, we give them more tasks. They get good at those, we give them a raise, we give them a promotion. And so the whole time we're reinforcing their abilities as an individual contributor and to be excellent on execution of things. And then we say, okay, they got so good. Now we're going to make them in charge of people. And because this whole time, let's say 3, 5, 8 years, whatever it was, I was successful by managing things. I end up managing people as if they're things. And
Mhm.
there's no ladder or development of, okay, let's start helping you develop the skills to listen, to communicate concisely, to take feedback, to deliver feedback. Like that doesn't happen until everybody's quitting on you. Am I wrong, or was that just my story?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, you're totally right. I mean, I had a client who the first session he sat down and he said, "I just told my high school age kid, whatever you do in life, do not manage people." I mean, he
Yeah.
was that frustrated. He was that frustrated because he was a civil engineer, super smart. I'm sure he coasted through school. He
Oh, yeah, yeah.
master's degree. He advanced because they're very in high demand. Civil engineers are in high demand. So he had a very good job. And then he had to manage people in a different place. And it was so a lot of ingredients that, again, were creating that perfect storm. And he was like, I just told my kid, whatever you do, not manage people. And I'm like, how can you be like that? I mean, how, regardless of work, how can you feel so incapable of dealing with people? It's not a good place to be, right?
Yes.
And I think is, but a lot of people do, they promote and hope. I'm sure you've heard that word, that's phrase.
Promoting hope. Yes.
Hope, and let's see how it goes. And also the Peter principle, right? When you go, you advance, you send, and then at some point things are gonna get interesting. I think it takes a lot of awareness at all levels of the organization. Awareness at high, those people who are like, hey, what are we going to do when we promote people? What plan do we have? Do we have someone who can help? I mean, how we're going to do this? And then awareness at the other levels is like, hey, I'm about to do this. I need help, to ask for help. We have to do something for me and my other people and my teams and everything. But just hoping that things are going to happen is going to be very hard, because those are not innate. Even, I've always said this, even for me, consultant on people skills or whatever, I have to develop my own people skills. I have to put some practice on those. I mean, I have to put my work on those, because it's not, it's automatic. It's not, it's not an innate. Or you can be like my husband, who said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to manage anyone. So do whatever you want to do. And he's an engineer coding, and he's happy, and he has never managed people. So, but you have to have some kind of awareness to realize, hey, we need something for our people. And you also ask, hey, don't leave me alone here. Please help me out in one way or another.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. Your husband recognized, I am not going to do that. And there's a cost to it. If you're not willing to do that, there's a certain level, and cool. If you're good with that, good. We need you to do the coding. But if you want to advance, you're going to have to, you really are going to have to manage people. And so what can you do to start building those skills? Now, what have you learned about yourself through the work that you do and watching the patterns and guiding people and restructuring? What popped up that surprised you about you?
I love that question, because again, that curiosity that keeps moving me to go and move countries and do this and do that. Sometimes it's hard to put it towards yourself, right? Like turn around and be curious about yourself. And that is not as easy, even, I mean, for no one, I think, and me included. So I've learned that I'm very tenacious. I stick. I won't quit. I stick. But I've also learned that I am not the expert in a lot of things. I mean, that is like, you have to be humble. You have to be open to continue learning. I think it's related, but I think I've learned that I also have to learn how to be vulnerable. Let's be honest about that. There's something about the education and I mean, I have a PhD and all that, and I'm like, that's not that it's not enough, but that doesn't tell the whole story. You have to continue how to be vulnerable and ask for help and reach out, and more. When you think that you have reached out, you reach out more. And when you tried more. And when you think that you have whatever is it, I think that has been one of my big learnings, that is a work in progress. It's never ending, and it's part of being human. So, but it's hard. It's hard. There are risks of being vulnerable, especially for a woman. And so there are a lot of Latinas, so there are a lot of risks. But I've learned I have to also put a little bit of walk the talk a little bit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's that, right? It's sure I can help. Oh, and there's room here too. There's some work I need to do here.
When I moved here, like I said, I mean, I knew everything, but it's a cultural shock. And then I got my therapist, of course. I was working for 10 years, and then we parted ways, and then I'm seeing another one. But it's like going to the gym. I mean, my muscles are not going to stay muscle strong if I don't go to the gym. So but we have such a hard time talking about those things. And I think it's getting better. I think a little bit better. But it's hard to understand that it's just part of being healthy. And sometimes it's easier said than done. It's
definitely. Okay. Now, you've mentioned the word culture a few times, and I want to come back and talk about cultural competence. But before that, like back when you're in Monterey, 15, 10, 12 years old, did you know, oh, this is what I want to do? I'm going to have my doctorate degree. I'm going to be in Austin. I'm going to be consulting and helping with people. Was it that easy?
No, not at all. I mean, I had really no idea what I was thinking when I was 10 or 12 or 15, what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Thinking, but I went into education after college. I went to education, and I realized that I said I like learning and I like teaching. I think I like that ecosystem of learning and
Ah,
giving
yep.
teaching. So definitely that was part of me. But and then at some point I really wanted, I was like, "Okay, it's time, I have to go, I have to go." I was, one thing that is funny, and I want to put it here out for everyone to know, is that I was still living at home, because in Mexico it's very common to live with your parents for longer than just, and I went to college in my hometown, so I was still there. So it was really a time to move, right? And I said, okay, let's just go. But I had no idea, really had no idea. Came to UT, and I was going to apply to another master's, but the admissions officer said, "Oh, you already have a master's." And she took out the application and she put the application for the PhD. And I mean, and I'm like, why not?
Oh, sure.
Why not? And I have to say that, of course, definitely coming here to this country and UT changed me completely. Me, a whole different person. You cannot go through a PhD program and not change completely. And I, there's still a lot of things to change and fix, right? But it definitely changed. And then that's when I realized that there was a lot of work to do with the Latino community in this country. So in one way or another, I've always been helping the Latino community. And that's first in education. I work with school districts across the state. I work with a lot of education agencies. And then I moved into, I want to see, okay, well, let's see how the Latino community is doing in corporate America. So let's go there. So I work there, always trying to support, not always, but big time of my work has been towards the Latino community. And that's the kind of one of the things that brought me into construction, be honest. I mean, it was about the Latino community. I work with everyone, but of course, the Latino community is very important to me. And that's one of the reasons that I'm doing what I'm doing. Definitely. I want to support the Latino construction workers and employees. I think they are, as we all know, a big part of the construction industry. And I want them to keep raising and keep moving into higher positions of visibility. And that's one of the reasons that I'm doing also all this work. But no, I have no plans for that. Absolutely no.
Good, because so far no one said, well, I take that back. Megan Shapiro.
Uh-huh.
She's the one person, man, there may be a couple other people I know, but she's the one person I've interviewed who said, oh yeah, I knew I was going to be a lawyer. When I was a teenager, I was going to be a lawyer. And she's a dang lawyer now. Now, she probably didn't know that she was going to be starting her own little business and managing conferences and stuff. But I think for the L&M family members out there, is it's not a straight line. And I think one thing you touched on that I think is super, super important is, yes, and I appreciate greatly, you do have a PhD from the University of Texas in Austin and master's from Monterey. I mean, you're extremely accomplished and credentialed. And I'm just a really good looking plumber.
Amazing.
At least I used to be at one time. And the way you make me feel human and accepted, right? So there's these insecurities of, I don't have the credentials, I don't have the certifications, but we can still have this amazing conversation because we're human beings. And so I want to put that, the reason I'm saying that is so that the listeners out there, I understand how scary and intimidating it can be to not have the certifications and credentials and whatever.
I'm sure that you know leaving this world better than you found it doesn't happen by accident. And I want to help you spend more time making this world better for yourself and the people you care about. So I want to invite you to the next Do the Damn Thing Time Mastery Workshop, because we're going to be having some fun. We're going to be taking all those goals, those ideas, those projects, those dreams, the things that you keep putting off because of the commitment you make to work and the commitment you make to family and the commitment you make to everybody else except for yourself. When you get those out of your head and finally come up with a plan, make the space, find the time for you to make those things real, for you to actually get the ball moving on the things that are going to give more flavor and meaning to your own personal life. Check the show notes for the link. I hope to see you there, and back to the show.
And sure, if you want them, go get them. But that doesn't make you any more, any less human. And you kind of touched on that earlier when you were talking about what you learned about. Yes, you can have the degrees and the certifications and all the things, and you're still human.
Still learning. I still have flaws, many of them, and I still catch myself like, oh, do you just do that? I mean, okay, what? Where did that come from? I mean, humans. We're totally humans, right?
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. Now, I was looking at your LinkedIn bio, and there was something in there about cultural competence, and I don't know enough about it except that I'm like, there's something valuable there. So, what is cultural competence? Like, how can our people, the listeners, think about that so that they can better serve the people in their surrounding?
Oh, I love cultural competence. I love that topic, of course, and that's why it's one of my services. But so I work maybe not as much as I want, but I do it in one way or another. I always add some of that because is when I support people to learn how to work better across cultures, because we are and then, for example, the Latino culture, and you have many other cultures, people that have teams in India, right? And they have teams in Korea. Now we have a lot of organizations that have teams all over the world, right? It's happening. So when we are faced with difference, when we are faced with cultural differences, there's always gonna be like a break, right? Either conscious or unconsciously. This is different, and we have all the alert signs. This is different. I don't understand. What's going on here? And I sometimes I joke that I live in a world of I just don't get it. I just don't get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I get it. Who knows? They're like that. They're like this. Who knows? It's weird. It's different. So I help them develop those skills that make them good at working across culture. So develop their cultural competence, because there's always going to be some differences. There are differences because we have different personality, right? At a very individual level, but there are also differences that are there because of different cultures. So I try to support the understanding of these differences so we can work better together. Now, I have my model to do that, but one of the things that I have learned that I find fascinating regarding the construction company is that sometimes this cultural difference can affect, it affects everything, the way we communicate, the way we build trust, but also they can also affect safety, because there's a lot of articles, and I go to Google Scholar once a day. I'm sorry, but I'm talking articles, and there's a lot of research that talks about how safety might be impacted by these cultural differences. For example, the Latino construction worker might say, since one of our Latino cultural values is our familismo, and we are very community centered and family centered. We keep these groups, right?
Yes.
But sometimes if the cousin is not doing what the supervisor said, I'm going to follow what the cousin is doing, not what the supervisor is telling me to do, regardless. The cousin is part of my group.
Yeah.
Part of my group. So that can be one way. And the supervisor who's, no, I don't understand. He's weird. It's another culture. I might want to be a little bit more. So that might be one way where cultural violence might affect safety, for example. So it gets in the way. So I think it's essential for us to understand how we work across cultures. We need to know that we're going to have ways of seeing the world that are based on our culture, right? That might be different. And I always say, you have to stop your cultural cruise control. Driving, and we have our own views, and we just go through life. We don't think about that because, of course, that's the way that we've been functioning since we were babies. But I always say you have to stop your cultural cruise control. Stop it, and think, hey, can this be seen differently from another perspective? Can this be due to a different cultural aspect? Possibly this was because of something that I had not considered. But only when you stop that cultural cruise control, right? You stop and you ask those questions. You become respectfully curious. I always talk about that. very respectful, and you ask and you get to know other cultures and way of being and doing. So
Oh,
that's why.
oh, you just stirred the pot. So cultural, here's one thing, folks. If you didn't catch this, L&M family member, the way you break or the medicine for cultural cruise control is to be respectfully curious. Now, when I hear cultural cruise control, I want to share a story and because I know I'm not the only one that's had this problem. And I want to know, is that an example of cultural cruise control? Now, when I was brought up, you respect your elders, right? To this day, when I'm talking to an elder and they call my name, I say Mande. I don't even, it's just a natural thing, right? Hey, Chewy, just Mande. I know, like, I'm not going to say what, because then I'm going to get slapped.
Oh,
Right?
I know. Uh-huh.
And so my upbringing was respect your elders. Don't challenge your elders. Don't talk back to your elders. Respect your elders, which served me very well when I was a student and a kid. But then I got into the professional space and it didn't serve me very well. Like only to like when I was ready, like I need more challenge. I want to grow and get promoted and still didn't challenge my elders or the authority. It was a problem because you're never saying anything. You just agree. You're not bringing anything to the table. And I'm like, you're the elders. You're the bosses. Is that an example of cultural cruise control?
Exactly. We can talk. I mean, let me go and get more coffee because we can talk hours and hours about this. Exactly. Your cultural control was just going in one way. This is the only way. This is a way that I know how to function, how to work, how to do this one. But at some point, the context was like, and then you stop. I have to turn off this cruise control and
Yes.
learn and adapt and learn and see what I need to do. And I think I have the same exact example. At UT, Dr. Joe Worthy, that was one of my advisors, Dr. Worthy asked me to call her Joe by her first name, Jesse.
Oh, was that hard?
She was a professor, my advisor, and I was like, I can't. Meanwhile, Shauna, and I always tell this example, and Shauna was an Anglo girl, a friend of mine, was still in touch. Shauna had been calling Joe since day number 1 of the program.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't even call Dr. Worthy Joe until for 6 months. I didn't call her anything. I was just like, hi, how are you? Fine. And then what happened? I was like, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to, right? So
Yeah.
that is that kind of, okay. But the respectful curiosity that I talk is that maybe from other people, your supervisors in your example, could have stopped their own cultural cruise control and say, what's going on here? There must be something else going on here.
Yeah.
That's why Jesse in that case is behaving in this way. So what's going on here? So they could also have stopped their cultural cruise control and said, hey, Jesse, tell us more about your culture. Who are you? What do you think? What are you appreciate? What do you value? Those conversations of connecting, you don't have to become best friends with everyone at work,
right.
But those connections is like, tell me more in a very respectful way. That's what I'll say, respectful curiosity. Tell me more about how you see life, how you see work, how do you see your advancement, what are you thinking? Tell about how you experience world and the job as a Latino man in this country or something like that.
Beautiful point. I did have somebody who had that respectful curiosity. And this was, now I'm like, at this point in my career, I have regional responsibility. I'm traveling around the country. And it was the first meeting that he and I were in. And I have I've gotten over the challenging authority. Like I'm fine with it at this point. But I didn't say anything. And it was like a 4-hour workshop, strategy, check-in, whatever it was. And I didn't say a whole lot. And so after the meeting, he said, hey, Jess, and I asked you some question. I really am just being curious. I'm not judging you. I was like, yeah, what's your problem? He said, well, you were extremely quiet. You didn't say a lot. You asked questions, but you didn't say a lot. Is it because you don't think it's appropriate for you to speak in the room? And I say, thank you for asking me that question. Because now I know that he's a real one, right? He gets it. said, thank you for asking me that question. I said, no. I said, I have adopted a mode of operation where I am not going to say something if it's redundant. If somebody already said the thought that I had, I don't need to change or say it a different way. I don't need to be seen. Like, I'm here. And so what that means is I will only speak when I care about something deeply and it hasn't been said. He's, oh, I was like, yeah. He's okay. I said, let me guess. You've seen other guys like me with a beautiful tan like me that don't speak up, and it's because they're afraid they're not supposed to. He's like, how'd you know? I said, because I used to be that way, right? We're all like that, right? I get it. No, I don't have that problem anymore. I'm just not going to repeat something that's already been said. I want to contribute value. And if I can't contribute value, then let's at least keep it going. We don't need to be saying the same thing a million times. And so I guess maybe the takeaway for our listener is they're out there. So find them. And when I say they, the amazing leaders that have this cultural awareness and the respectful curiosity, they're there. You just got to find them.
Exactly. And also do your own cultural understanding of who you are culturally speaking.
Yeah.
Like when I couldn't call Joe for months, it was not because I was defective. It was not because I had a problem. It was not because I was not that smart. It was just because my culture had taught me differently.
Yeah.
When I understood that, I said, that's one of we call them cultural scripts, that respeto is a cultural script. When I understood that, and okay, so I can just flip the script and I am going to learn how to adapt, how to use my flexibility as a Latina and use it in the way that it has to be used. There's a lot of anxiety about changing your behavior and this and that, but I think that we're all adapting. We're all flexible. We have to, and it's important, and it's growth when we adapt and learn and change. It's beautiful without being hard on ourselves. In your own cultural awareness, who are you culturally and how you act? When you can name it, you can tame it.
Ooh, I like that.
You can say, hi, it's not that I'm just being respectful because I was taught to do that. Okay, that's it. Not a big deal. Then you can just change it when needed and according to the circumstances, and then we're going to be fine. But if you are unaware, when you cannot name it, then you cannot do anything about that. You cannot tame it. So.
Yes. No, I think what I love the most is the awareness. And for me, I've learned that if I just slow down a little bit, my awareness will spike. But if I'm running 100 miles an hour all the time, guess what's not happening? I am not aware of myself at all.
So, and we go back to the cruise control, right? As useful as it is, stop it every once in a while. And you can, I talk about cultural cruise control, but we can talk about anything because sometimes we're just putting out fires left and right without stopping, without, hey, what's going on? Without engaging in reflective practice. What information am I getting? And what is that information telling me about things might have to be done differently? But that craziness of life we have to stop sometimes, right?
Yes, 100%. Now, you and I connected. I know you connected with my sister, Jennifer Lacey. You connected with Megan. You've traveled. You've come in from another country. I have a friend. Her name's Anessa. I haven't talked to her in years. Anessa and Estela. I met them in salsa class.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing. This was a long time ago. And they just traveled all over the place. Like, they just met people. And I was like, wow, I want to be like y'all when I grow up. And now I'm a little more like that. You have decided to intentionally, this is what it looks like to me. It looks like you said, you know what? I want to connect with these people in this space and I'm going to go do it. And you're doing it. Now, that is terrifying for the majority of people in general. And then if I zoom in for women in general, and then if I zoom in for Latinas, it's like more and more profound that you're doing this. And so what I think might be helpful for folks is how do you think about what you're doing in those terms? Like, you're not necessarily the work that you do, your expertise, but just putting yourself out there to connect with people. How do you do that? How do you get the courage to do that?
It's funny, right? Because it doesn't seem courageous when I do it, but when I think about it, I'm like, oh, and when I go into my reflective practice, right, and think about me and my life, I was a extremely shy little girl. I was
Oh,
a shy little girl. So this is what happened. This is what happened. This is, and I hope people listen to this, especially younger age, years of experience is amazing because it
mm,
gives a different perspective, right? Different perspective, like, hey, you know what? Nothing happens. Suddenly only good things happen. So I always want to condense time for others. If it took me 10 years for me, and I wanted to take it in 3, right? So that's what a lot of things that I do. But it what makes me do it is that I've definitely age has given me wisdom to understand that there are very few things that are permanent, and that
ah,
generally speaking, people are doing their best and that they are going to help you. If they don't help you, it's because at that time they can't, or they are too busy or too engaged in something else, or whatever. It's not. I've learned not to take it personally. I've learned that they are doing really their best. And a lot has to do with my coaching school. Of course, coaching changes you as well. But I think that's it just, I have this feeling that nothing bad is going to happen. It's going to work out. And that if I go out and connect with people, even if it's one conversation, I'm going to gain something out of that.
sure.
Nothing is there to lose. No one is going, what is the worst thing that can happen? So I think that keeps me moving. And I want other people to start thinking and hearing these ideas so they can start doing that extra thing, taking
Yep.
that extra risk, taking that and no, do it. Really, there are very few things that are permanent. And
Yep.
when we're being authentic and when we are connecting, we're just connecting. Hey, I'm knocking the door. Are you gonna open the door? Fine. If not, okay, I'll try again another day. But it is, I understand sometimes we have a lot of fears of rejection, but once you start doing it, you develop the habit and you're like, hey, you know what? I think also you change your attitude also. It's like nothing bad is gonna happen. They might say no, but if you say no, okay, what next? I mean, well,
Next, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I did a very good job explaining, but I think is this combination of like, why not? What's the
Yeah.
worst that can happen?
Yeah. No, I think you did do a great job because it is a mindset. I mean, the two things the little simple frameworks that I use for this kind of situation, because people say like, my mom, she's like, "Mijo, you're crazy. Like the things that you do and the things that you say, you put it all out there." I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. So two things is this. One, failure is not fatal. If I fail, I ain't gonna die. I'm gonna learn from it. The other thing is I get to choose between rejection or regret. I
Mm.
will take rejection all day, every day, because regretting always come from not taking the step or making the ask. Rejection, está bien, órale, next. Who do I talk to now? You don't like me? Good. Who's next? Like, yeah,
It's a gradual process, because not because I reach out to you and to Colleen and to Megan and to Jennifer. I mean, I reach out to Jen what I'm like that day. I think I'm gonna be in Dallas tomorrow. Can I see you? Things like that. And so I'm going up in that. Okay, let's do it, connect. And there's some other areas where I'm like, no, I can't. So
yeah, yeah.
there's not a straight line, and not everything moves at the same rhythm.
Yes.
So don't feel like, hey, but I can't talk to Jennifer Lacey out of the blue, but oh my God, I cannot do a webinar, for example, right? Oh no. So don't expect everything to move at the same rhythm, in the same direct
Mm,
speed. So we have to understand that there's 2 steps ahead and maybe 1 step to the
yes.
side and 1 step behind. And so all these things, and I want especially these young people is understand that. So don't be scared if there are some areas when we don't feel, because I feel them as well, right?
Yes.
But I think that there's a lot more to lose if not doing it than in doing.
Yes. It's
Yes.
yeah, just give it a shot. You'll get better on the next one. And I think you made a super important point is not all things move at the same rate. It's okay to be great at one thing and not great at the other thing. It's okay to be sprinting on one thing and then still thinking about the other. Give yourself some grace. It's going to be okay. So if people want to work with you, where do we send them, Dr. Alejandra?
We send them to, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn.
Okay, good.
And I have my website. So one of the my website, and we can put it there later. So but LinkedIn and my website are the two places where they can find me. I'm there, and I always respond to people. I always respond to people. I have people like, hey, I'm gonna be there. I need to talk to you and haven't seen you in 3 years. Text me. Here's my number. Text me.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Nice.
I text, and I'm like, come on, people, but text. But I'm always there. I love to work with. I'm very interested in construction. Again, it's something that is also kind of a newish side for me. I'm very interested. I love to work with people who work in real projects. I think so. That's the way I see it. So I'm open for any kind of conversation. Please reach out.
Amazing. Good. Okay. So we'll make sure we have that information in the show notes. Y'all need to reach out to Dr. Alejandra, if for the very least to say, I know a doctor. I have a doctor in my seat. That's what I'm doing. Are you ready for the Grand Slam final question? Okay. So I totally appreciate like your adventurous spirit, the cultures and careers and industries that you've learned to adapt into quickly, and the connections that you've made with people in terms of helping them understand that they're not defective. And so the little that I know about you suggests to me that what your answer is going to be pretty damn profound. And so here's the question. What is the promise you are intended to be?
The promise that I'm intended to be is to help more and more people develop those people skills that we need in this world, because if we don't have them, it's a very hard world to live in. So I want to contribute to that. There's a little bit of thing about me that I was never taught directly. I had to learn on my own, and if I can help other people learn those so they can have better interactions in the workplace, and there's a lot of success and a lot of satisfaction that they're going to feel. So if I can contribute to that, would be very cool. So
oh my goodness, so you're already doing it. You're just going to do more of it.
I'm doing more. Oh, there's a lot of time, a lot of things that I have to do. So still, yes, there's a lot about also working across countries, like really work across countries, be able to go and do some of this in Mexico, and so that's also another big thing that I want to keep in mind. But yeah, definitely. And I think the promise, I mean, the more I think about that as I'm talking, is like just enlighten people, give them the knowledge, the how, to help them see. It's very frustrating when you kind of understand there's something there, but you cannot see. It's something there, but I cannot see. Like, I cannot really get it. What is it? It's not working. Something is not right. And there's a lot of heaviness in that. And I want to remove that heaviness so they can understand, like, hey, we can do this. There's skills that I can learn. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh my, you're a guide, a light, enabling people, supporting people, catapulting people into a higher quality of life. Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
I had a great time. And I love chatting and talking to people. So thank you, Jesse, for having me. And it's been a pleasure to get to know you better. And I learned a lot from you. And thank you for opening your spaces for me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Thank you for sticking it out all the way to the end. I know you got a whole lot of stuff going on. And in appreciation for the gift of time that you have given this episode, I want to offer you a free PDF of my book, Becoming the Promise You're Intended to Be. The link for that bad boy is down in the show notes. Hit it. You don't even have to give me your email address. There's a link in there. You just click that button and you can download the PDF. And if you share it with somebody that you know who might feel stuck or be caught up in self-destructive behaviors, that would be the ultimate. You sharing that increases the likelihood that it's going to help one more person. And if it does help one more person, then you're contributing to me becoming the promise I am intended to be. Be kind to yourself, be cool, and we'll talk at you next time.